Hello, everybody, and welcome to Decoding the Hive Mind, episode 19, the history of the pentagram. The planet Earth works on electromagnetic energy, just as every speck of sand, every monkey wrench, and everything else in existence. Within the body of that planet are capacitors, which bring in celestial energies that are directed to Earth through quantum wave magnification, channeling the energies of the standing energy fields of God Source into larger and larger waves of power as they pass through larger and larger planetary bodies, and posting that energy into these capacitors through invisible rays, as well as through lightning strikes, which are exactly the same thing as plugging in your rechargeable flashlight into a wall socket. The incoming electromagnetic dispensations strike into the core of Earth, which infuses the capacitors held inside the liquids, which then connect that energy to the Krystal Cathedral Energy Temples, and then dispense the rest of that power to the rest of Earth, which will be explained in detail as we go. Enormous in size, some of these crystals within each cluster are skyscraper-sized gems grouped together in city-sized capacitor structures that hold and magnify energy. Each crystal's placement together is not haphazard. They are tuned to emit precise scalar wave frequencies that travel to the surface some 7 miles above to emanate into the atmosphere called a morphogenetic field. At certain cycle event peaks, this planet comes into perfect alignment with multiple other planets, which affect our harmonic frequency spectrum as extremely elevated levels of very high frequency particles known as carbon-7 that flood into our energy grids, which increases the harmonic structure of the planet and all the liquid silicate that circulates its energy flow. The frequency emitted from the Earth's core is called the Schumann resonance and pulses like a heartbeat. Over the period of every 26,556 years, there is a natural long cycle evolutionary elevation of Earth's frequency, enabling her to move higher in the energy structure of the time matrix. You're now at the peak of that long cycle, and Earth is moving higher in harmonic resonance, which enables certain beings within this evolution to move into higher planes of the visual spectrum. This is called ascension. Pole reversal. Earth's alignment to all other planets within the solar system was artificially shifted long ago. Explained in a minute. This was a result of massive damage sustained by the planet during past wars where pure energy weapons have been used with total disregard to the host planet, then called Nursery Earth, long after the fall of Man-War when she was previously Terra. Keep in mind, Mother Earth, Gaia, prefers to be called Terra. That is her preferred name. The planetary body was rotated from its north to its south, then an additional 23.5 degrees for a total rotation of 203.5 degrees north. Is the energetic outflow of a magnetic field, which was supposed to be pointing up within this playing field. While science calls the top of the planet north, that is not true. The North Pole is technically the south end of the torus field, which is why compasses fail anywhere near the epicenter of that pole, because the compass is trying to point downward, not closer to that pole's center. Of course, compasses aren't made to point up or down, only left or right. While this isn't a major issue all by itself, the rotation of the planet is, as it is now bringing in celestial energies directed from planets not organic to the Gaia time matrix energy flow. Those energies are tuned to reverse the angular particle spin of the energy flow within the Kilon grid pattern that once held the template to organic manifestation. Due north now just so happens to be aligned perfectly to the planet Polaris at the center of the Alpha Draconis star system, where most of the animal invader races of this planet hail from. Take special note of the artificial reality zone, 7-layer frequency fence. That is right there, evidence of the digital matrix. 7-layer frequencies of that digital matrix there. Like your body is fitted with pulse points where energy flows in through your pineal gland and then is distributed throughout to generate a particle flow that will connect to the genetic codes within your DNA, within the hexagram shape of the template. The Earth also has pulse points that direct the flow of energy in that same pattern. This way, your morphogenetic plasma field will synchronize to Earth, allowing her to support your holographic manifestation within the science used for the evolution of your new Christos avatar. The pulse points of Earth's body run from Cusco, Peru to Sarasota, Florida, down to Oslo, Norway, back up to The Hague, and complete the full 6-point pattern of her field through the Krystal Cathedral planetary temples. This energy flow is carried in the shielding of water, just like the electricity flowing through the copper wires of your home are shielded in rubber to insulate the electromagnetic currents from short-circuiting. Water is a natural non-conductor of electricity that is constantly grounding the Earth to the Earth's body, which neutralizes this unwanted connection that would prematurely release the energy before it was needed by all the life forces that live within the playing field. The crystals suspended in that water are the batteries that each independently carry their own charge. And as long as water keeps each battery from touching each other, there is no short circuit. When the crystal batteries reach each crystal cathedral, the water flows underneath the crystals, and through friction, the energy from each one rubs off into the massive crystal clusters at each temple through SET, or static electrical transfer. This works just like shuffling your feet across the carpet, which transfers the static electricity from the fibers into your plasma field. When you touch a doorknob, you can see the excess energy now in your field bleed off in the form of a spark, keeping your body at the precise energy level it is now designed to maintain. An organic magnet rubbed across steel will transfer energy into that metal through friction as well, making it temporarily act like a magnet through the same process. The pattern of this energy flow was supposed to travel as you see below on the left, which directed the water naturally between these key pulse points to produce a pattern that would take the shape of song that Earth sings, to produce the precise tone that would harmonize with the patterns inside the DNA of Earth's life forms and to the DNA within the new Christos human, so they would all merge together to form the symphony of the first, second, and third dimensions of the 15-level time matrix. The organic pattern is shown on the right. After the physical rotation and tilt of the planet took place, the new alignment of her magnetic and electric grids, of her magnetic and electric ends were now pointing in a direction where energy waves were now feeding into her pulse points and into the crystals that hold the bulk of her operating energy through a clever mirror system between the Wisadek Phantom Matrix Central Sun and from the detritus garbage from Nibiru, disconnecting Earth from her organic electricity flow. You can simply think of this as the wrong voltage now coming in to properly power her operating platform. This new voltage of energy flowing into Earth's morphogenetic field causes the top half of the planet's particle spin to phase lock into the same direction as the bottom half. While both of these rotations remain locked to each other, the power created between the two halves of the torus field isn't generated through the fission-fusion reaction and cuts off all life within that sphere from their required voltage to manifest in their intended shape. In the case of the angelic human, disconnected their DNA from the eternal life Christos field, which meant that instead of being able to live entirely through sunlight, they would now have to eat in order to produce their own energy source to live. And it would also mean that their bodies would be forced to age, which would eventually cause them to physically die. Just like cancer and AIDS that were created in laboratories in order to kill humans. This new system was deliberately designed to do the same, just in a more gradual manner. Nibiruean Diodic Crystal Energy Temples. As briefly mentioned earlier, in 25.5 BC, the Anunnaki-Luciferian Alliance installed another energy grid system over the top of the organic Krystal Cathedral Energy Grids by the forces based out of Nibiru during the Luciferian Rebellion, during a conflict known as the Grail Quest Wars. This new program controller is called the Nibiruean Diodic Crystal Energy Temples, or NDC. Until recently, the NDC grids have been simply lowering the energy voltage, reaching the morphogenetic field of Earth, which lowered the energy available for the planet's life forces. This stunted their height, distorted their appearance, and caused human bodies to die. Then, between 100 and 200 AD, the planet was rotated an additional half-turn to retune and strengthen the system already in place, where the particle flow of the energy that was bouncing off the Krystal Cathedral Energy Grids was rerouted into a new pattern that removed one of the pulse points out of the system at the top, and also canceled out the organic Repulsion Zone Temple out of Earth's center point. The Repulsion Zone is where time and gravity are generated, and it is the back door within any command template. By disconnecting this back door out of the system, replacing it with the Metatronic Pentagram cube technology, it slammed the door shut on beings who were from the Guardian Alliance, only here temporarily to help the angelic humans, so they would not be able to simply leave. Plus, they were able to suspend time and gravity and replace it with a counterfeit system of their own choosing. The gravitational push would be accelerated by 3 times, and elements within that would actually increase 36 times, which would force eternal life code bodies to break down and deteriorate even faster yet. Of course, time was replaced as well within the 360-degree system backed by Numerological Aether Commands to create the looking glass illusion where black is actually white and white is actually black. Spoken more on later. This system was revealed in disclosure in the 2011 film Neverland, where Peter and his band were transported to a world where his gravitational limits had been altered and where he would never age. Of course, this is precisely backward to what has been put in place now, which is now headed up by CERN. CERN, Switzerland, folks, where the Hadron Collider is at, disclosing to the public a mirrored image of what is taking place. At a later time, I may elaborate on this topic, but for now, I will leave further investigation to this project up to you. The CERN Large Hadron Collider project in Switzerland operates this program under the public term the White Rabbit Project, where time is being forcibly altered within a cube structure that displaces the events that would otherwise be organically generated within the timeline and replaced by other events through their transposition of collective awareness of the population with those from other timelines. They are the ones behind the Mandela effect, they secretly called the Mandala effect, I mentioned this clear anomaly in other places within this paper as well, showing you some of the geometric command patterns being used to bring about this amazing history distortion where half of the public remembers one thing from the past and the other half recalls another. Since this is a vast topic that involves automatons as well as self-aware sentient beings moving among each other completely unaware of this mental disconnection, it would be more properly covered in its own complete paper at some point. At least I am now giving you the clues to follow in order to begin piecing together how it is that you actually do live in a world where the biblical passage, "The lion shall lie down with the lamb," literally never existed in this timeline. Look it up. Think of crystal energy grids just like gigantic piezoelectric speakers that direct sound particles this way or that direction, depending on where the speaker is pointed. The sound particles being created by the crystals inside of the speaker flow in one direction or the other. This is not magic any more than lightning. The first fire was for cavemen who had never seen fire ignited before. This is mechanical science that can be reproduced in the laboratory right now. The particles inside of a glass sphere directed one way to cause a ball to rotate clockwise position opposed to other particles directed the opposite way below. Create anti-gravity. In this case, the speakers of the diodic crystal grid redirect the flow of the silicate matrix amino fluid we call water through the planetary hydroducts in a reverse direction from how the system was designed. The new pattern that reversing the current in the operating system reverse was now in a 5-point pentagram star pattern as used in satanic cults as their signet symbol or emblem. At the same time, by closing off the 0 point to the template, it created a cross that X'd out that temple, the symbol of which is now used to stand for dead or missing, as in the Lost Boys of Neverland. There's the points mentioned: Bora Bora, Cusco, Peru, Jerusalem Temple, Oslo. Architectural command templates in use. Some churches show both symbols of the original hexagram and the new pentagram, such as this Latter-day Saints cathedral, because the pentagram wouldn't exist without the hexagram first. Notice the line below the top point of the hexagram below, telling you it's now actually a pentagram. Hexagram Keylontic Scalar Science Energy Grid. The pentagram is the hexagon with point removed. The hidden pentagram, hexagram with the top portion removed, can be found in every walk of life today, sending out the scalar waves that reinforce the capture and isolation of the human element. In this case below, Heathrow International Airport is geometrically created to limit your travel to only within the chimera reality field you're supposed to remain in. The United States Pentagon, their strategic military command center of the planet, was designed to harness the power of the hexagram at its base intent core, then remove the top peak, turn that upside down, and then overlay the Metatronic base 8 scalar science to manifest their service to self agenda. The chances of both the distorted hexagram nested inside the pentagram within the physical structure of this most significant installation happening by sheer coincidence is like being struck by lightning 100 times in a row on the same day. To illustrate even further that the physical creation of the Red Cross, used today as the signet of the Knights Templars, Freemasons, who are the official military of the Catholic Church, as well as the religious symbol that Jesus was supposedly crucified on, was in fact from this Genesis. I post below the seal of the Thule Society, also Illuminati, where the precise angle of the crosses are identical to the precise recreation of the hex placed over the Krystal Cathedral Energy Grids in 150 AD. The lines used in the original creation of the crucifix, which is drawn from a perfect circle connection to the outside inner edges of the crystal grids to form the pentagram, were simply lifted off the drawing, placed over the Thule crosses, and trimmed in my graphics program. The angles are a precise match and cannot be modified and still retain the precise geometry of the Krystal Cathedral Energy Grid. The Thule Society dates back to pre-Atlantis, just as the Knights of the Temples of Malta. Atlanta was submerged in 9,558 BC, but their own prediction to cause this planetary distortion was clearly realized almost 10,000 years later. The symbol of the black sun, adopted by the Thule Society, contemporary German federal law forbids it to be displayed. Well, folks, there you have the history of the pentagram. Some precise revelations detailing exactly how the 360-degree enslavement program works. Yeah, and we're just getting started, folks. But Decoding the Hive Mind, that was episode 19. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste, namaskaram.